Alright folks, this is Mark from Mark Explains. We're ready to install our operating system in our new server. You just want to put the disk in the disk drive and boot your computer or server up directly from the disk drive. Once it boots up, it'll go directly into the operating system install. When it boots up, it will ask you for a language. Once you select your language, it'll go into the option to install the Ubuntu server. There's much more selections there, but you just want to be sure the top selection is highlighted and hit enter. This will take about 20 minutes, so get ready to run through this. You're just going to use the first few selection screens to choose your location and your language. It's going to ask you if you want to select your keyboard layout or automatically detect it. Just select no, and then you can just manually select the English versions of the keyboard layout. It's going to go ahead and start installing a few things just to kind of get it started. It'll go through these different installation processes with a few different menu selections that you, as the operator, has to input throughout the process. As a recommendation, it'd be good to have a pen and paper handy as we start the process of entering in specific information, username, and password. Now here's the opportunity for you to give your server a name. The default selection is Ubuntu. I'm going to name my server your own home server, but you can name yours whatever you would like. And then just hit the down arrow or the tab button and hit enter. Now you're going to put in the full name for the user. And then it's going to ask for your user account name. In each of these selections, you can just tab or hit the down arrow and highlight the continue. Once you've named your account, it'll ask for your password. This will be a good time to develop a password that only you will know and write it down on a piece of paper for safekeeping. Then you'll re-enter your password to verify. And once you've verified your password, ask an additional questions about encrypting your home directory. Don't necessarily recommend this since we're just doing this as more for fun or hobby or just kind of to just get started. A couple selections for your time zone. And then it will move into setting up your hard drive for the volume of the server operating system. By default, it's set up to use your entire disk for your operating system, and you can select enter, and it just confirms again the disk that you want to use, and select enter again, and will ask you an additional confirmation step that you do want to write changes to your disks. At this screen, it gives you the opportunity to reduce the size of your the amount of space that you want to use. For our purposes, we can leave it to the full disk size. It will bring up an additional confirmation step. Again, you'll choose yes and hit enter. Once this is selected, this is going to start a pretty lengthy part of the process that the computer is just going to be installing. So you can take a break, go get you a drink or some coffee, and then come back in about 3 to 5 minutes. Now that you're back, it's going to bring up a screen asking that if you wish to use a proxy to get to the outside internet, to just hit continue and it'll keep on installing. At this point in the process, a screen is going to come up and ask you if you want to have updates installed. The best way is to select Install Security Updates Automatically and press Enter. Once it runs through some additional installations, it will bring up a menu if you would like to add some additional programs. And this is a very important step of the process. You'll want to select Open SSH Server, and you will select this by using your space bar, and then you can use your tab or down arrow to move the cursor down. You'll also want to install the LAMP server and the Samba file server. And we'll get into these in future posts and videos about how we're going to use this. The most important one right now is the LAMP server and the Open SSH server. Tab down and select Continue and hit Enter, and it'll finish up the installation processes. Moving into the finalization parts of the setup, a menu will come open to ask a MySQL root user password. I've used the same password as my username password. You can use a different password if you choose to do so. I recommend to write that down with your other passwords that you've already set up. The MySQL is part of your LAMP server setup, and we will use this long term once we start playing around with WordPress websites. As it continues to finalize the process, it's going to ask if you wish to install the Grub bootloader on your hard disk. This is a recommended yes selection. In the event that your hard drive becomes corrupted, the Grub bootloader can recover your system. It's kind of like a recovery drive on a regular desktop or laptop computer. Once that's done, the installation is pretty well complete. At this point, it's going to say that you need to restart your system. Most computers will actually kick out the CD. At that point, you can remove the CD, hit continue, and it will reboot into your new operating server. Everything in the reboot process will happen automatically. Your computer will shut down, start back up, and it will automatically start into the Ubuntu Server operating system. And there you go. Your server operating system has been installed. You can now log in to your operating system with the username that you decided upon during the initial setup. You can input your password. It will not show your password as you're typing, so it's very important that you take your time and input your password correctly. You're now logged into your server. From here, you can key in many commands. But what we're going to do to ensure that the operating system is up to date is input a command, sudo apt-get update. This will ensure that your operating system is as current as possible. Once it has retrieved all the most recent updates to the operating system, you'll have another command prompt, And at this point, we're going to do a similar command, sudo app-get upgrade, and this will actually install all the updates to your operating system. Once the operating system has installed all the current updates, at this point we just want to reboot the server using the sudo reboot command. Our server will now reboot back into the operating system and start you at the original login screen. Once you have re-input your username and password, it'll log you in, and at this point it is a good time to identify your local IP address for your server. It will be on the bottom right hand side of the information, IP address for ETH0. Once you've identified the IP address, be sure to write it down because we will be using it going forward as we continue to set up our system. All right, great job. So that is the installation of the operating system. Be sure to take a look at the remaining part of this post for a few other things. Thank you for joining.